Witamy Was serdecznie z końca Europy. Jesteśmy Europa na Gibraltarze. Dalej już w Europie się nie pojedzie. Za mną te góry, które widzicie, to już jest Maroko. Po drugiej stronie cieśniny gibraltarskiej. Jesteśmy tutaj dlatego, że jest to jedna z ostatnich kolonii brytyjskich, które uchowały się na świecie. Jej historia sięga 713 roku, a powierzchnia Gibraltaru to jest oszałamiające 6,5 km². Natomiast tu też robimy spółki, tu też warto robić spółki. Co więcej, Gibraltar jest jednym z centrów finansowych, jeżeli chodzi o branżę krypto, branżę bettingu i branżę hazardową. Wielu bukmacherów, których gracie w internecie, ma swoją siedzibę właśnie tutaj na Gibraltarze i dzisiaj opowiemy dlaczego. Zapraszam do odwiedzin Gibraltaru. Witamy serdecznie z Gibraltaru. Widać tutaj za mną bardzo znani rezydenci Gibraltaru, makaki, próbują się włamać do strażniczówki. To jest najbardziej charakterystyczny, chyba jeden z punktów, jeżeli chodzi o Gibraltar. Tutaj są właśnie wyganiani. Bateria królowej Charloty. Możecie sobie zobaczyć, to jest widok na cały Gibraltar. I słynne lotnisko, w którym miała miejsce katastrofa gibraltarska, słynna, kiedy generał Sikorski, czy to w zamachu, czy to być może w wyniku wypadku nieszczęśliwego tutaj na Gibraltarze, poniósł śmierć. Niewielki skrawek lądu, 713 rok, powstaje kolonia gibraltarska na samej końcu Hiszpanii. Tutaj miejsce, gdzie tak naprawdę z uwagi na małą ilość przestrzeni, co się dzieje? Powstaje malutki raj podatkowy. Raj podatkowy, który tak naprawdę do dzisiaj funkcjonuje mimo Brexitu, mimo wszystkiego, co się wydarzyło. Proszę bardzo, nie wiem, czy uda się wywiad przeprowadzić z panem Makakiem, nie chciał rozmawiać z nami. Co jest charakterystycznego w reżimie gibraltarskim? Co prawda nominalna stawka podatku na Gibraltarze to 12,5%, natomiast stawka ta dotyczy wyłącznie dochodu pochodzącego z terytorium Gibraltaru. Mamy terytorialną regułę przychodu, co oznacza, że nie opodatkowujemy dochodu spoza Gibraltaru i efektywna stawka dla dochodu spoza Gibraltaru wynosi po prostu 0. To jest coś, co Gibraltar, jeżeli chodzi o systemy brytyjskie, ma podobne do zasad, które obowiązują na przykład w Hongkongu, gdzie też taka zasada obowiązuje. Natomiast Gibraltar poszedł krok dalej i stworzył jako jeden z niewielu krajów europejskich specjalne reżimy dla wielu bardzo konkretnych rodzajów spółek, które nie istnieją gdzie indziej. I na przykład takim reżimem jest kwestia związana z firmami bukmacherskimi. I dzisiaj tak naprawdę, jak korzystacie sobie z bukmacherów, czy z pewnie swoich popularnych takie zawody gdzieś tam w tym momencie w internecie robicie, te zawody są operowane i bukmacherka właśnie z podziału spółek na Gibraltarze, które specjalną licencję finansową na Gibraltarze mogą uzyskać i następnie legalnie operować w całej Europie. Jest to system charakterystyczny właśnie dla Gibraltaru, który szukając sobie możliwości, żeby ściągnąć biznes z całego świata, stworzył właśnie reżim dla spółek w bardzo wąskich specjalizacjach, takich jak bukmacherka i co więcej w ostatnim czasie mamy też tutaj wysyp spółek krypto. Licencja krypto pojawiła się już jakiś czas temu na Gibraltarze i mamy zjawisko, kiedy giełdy krypto, spółki operujące w sektorze krypto przenoszą swoją działalność właśnie z innych krajów na terytorium Gibraltaru. Tutaj spotykają kadry, tutaj zakładają swoje siedziby i operują z tego terytorium. Co istotne, Gibraltar nie zmienił swojego statusu po Brexicie. Tak naprawdę jako terytorium pozostawał już od dawna poza Unią Europejską i umowa dotycząca tego, że rzeczywiście, że Gibraltar i całe Zjednoczone Królestwo wychodzi z Unii Europejskiej, nie zmieniła żadnego statusu prawnego Gibraltaru. Po Brexicie to, co się zmieniło, zresztą tutaj zwrócę jeszcze uwagę, widać, bardzo dobra dzisiaj widoczny, widać kawałek Maroka nawet. To, co zmieniło się po Brexicie w stosunku do Gibraltaru, to fakt, że jeżeli mamy spółkę na Gibraltarze, którą kontrolują w połowie co najmniej rezydenci hiszpańscy, to taka spółka już nie przynosi żadnych korzyści, tylko tak naprawdę taka spółka będzie opodatkowana jako spółka hiszpańska. To jest najistotniejsza zmiana rzeczywiście, która po Brexicie nastąpiła w zakresie opodatkowania spółek z Gibraltaru.
So one of the main advantages of Gibraltar is that everything is in English. So obviously it's part of the UK itself, but it's a crown dependency.
Okay.
And the official language is in English, and that just makes it easier for professionals, lawyers, and accountants to deal over here in Gibraltar with their counterparties over here. And when it comes to setting up a company, all the documentation is in English as well. So that's very useful for anyone who's using the jurisdiction. Typically their second language might be English.
And can you tell me a little bit more how holding companies can benefit from setting up their business here in Gibraltar? Because what is the main general idea of taxation in Gibraltar? Why is this so beneficiary for businesses?
Okay. Well, Gibraltar's got a favorable tax regime, but there is tax over here in Gibraltar that needs to be paid. So corporation tax is 12.5%, but it's based on a derived and accrued principle. So it could be more beneficial, but obviously one needs to assess the circumstances of the business and where it operates and so forth. But 12.5% in general is lower than many jurisdictions.
And the general idea is that you don't tax income from outside of Gibraltar, yeah?
That is generally the idea.
Okay.
But it's always best to get clarification on those points and so forth. But yeah, it could be more beneficial than the headline tax rate. But it's important to understand and get professional advice on that.
And do you set up more holding companies or maybe operational businesses? How does it look?
Yeah, so it depends on what the client is obviously doing. So there are lots of trading companies over here in Gibraltar that actually do business over here in Gibraltar, and there are many things that Gibraltar has going for itself. So it's a place which is quite welcoming. It's a place that's easy to do business. To set up a company can be extremely quick. To start trading with a business and a bank account and so forth can be quick as well over here in Gibraltar. Staff and employees like to live in this location. You find that there are lots of people who are not from Gibraltar who relocate over here to Gibraltar to work, and they do like the lifestyle over here. You've got very nice weather. It's a very safe environment. So they have all these benefits that perhaps are better than where they're coming from. So we see a lot of trading businesses over here. And actually they also have the advantage of the tax regime in Gibraltar, but I think that's more of a secondary thing. And in terms of holding companies, it does work quite well. Again, the circumstances need to be understood. But I think what's useful, again, with a place like Gibraltar is that everything's in English, the legal system and so forth is extremely easy to navigate. So anyone that's looking at doing a transaction and using Gibraltar, lots of professionals can be involved from lots of different jurisdictions. So it can work very nicely and practically.
Okay, and when you speak about the operational businesses, I know there are some specific licenses that you can get in Gibraltar for businesses like gambling, betting, maybe even crypto businesses that you don't get anywhere else. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Gibraltar's done really well in the past couple of decades to distinguish itself as a place for excellency on the gambling side. So when online gambling was in its infancy, there weren't rules or regulations in place in many countries. So Gibraltar was very quick to put in regulations for what's called remote gambling. So basically gambling that's not actually, the bet is not done by a player in Gibraltar.
Okay.
The players are done in other countries, but from Gibraltar, this is where the gambling product and the services are offered. And Gibraltar put a gambling framework for companies to be based over here, to be licensed by the gambling regulator over here in Gibraltar and to operate from over here. And they did it in such a way whereby they were looking for the best of breed, the best companies in this space to be based over here in Gibraltar. And they've done fantastic. These companies are over here. They operate from over here. Lots of gambling companies know about Gibraltar, and they know that it's an excellent jurisdiction to be based out of. You have many licensed companies operating from over here, and they contribute hugely to the jurisdiction. And what's happened over time as well is that the ecosystem has grown in Gibraltar. So you do have operators, so those who are actually providing the gambling service directly to the customers, but you have lots of parts in the gambling sector. So you have the software developers, you have the payments companies, and they are also based over here in Gibraltar. So you have this ecosystem which is all assisting the gambling industry to perform very well and to provide services to each other that are needed for the players.
And the same with crypto, yes?
And now the same is happening with crypto. And when I say now, it's actually been a number of years that Gibraltar has been involved in this sector as well. And again, they were very quick in terms of looking at the industry, quicker than other locations. They were one of the first jurisdictions to come up with a legal framework and regulations and licensing for companies to operate from Gibraltar. And it's important because it allows the companies to offer these services and also to the users to be comfortable that they are dealing with a company that is following regulation and that is basically being monitored by the authorities over here in Gibraltar. So the users themselves can be comfortable in the fact that they're using these companies, whereby in other locations there might not be a licensing regime,
yes,
and that could jeopardize users of the
and also the bank account issue, yeah, is that if you have the license here from this sometimes really prohibited businesses in other countries, you still can you can open a bank account here in Gibraltar, yeah?
Yeah, so once you're operating a licensed business over here in Gibraltar, obviously that means you've gone through the checks, you've complied with what's necessary to operate a company. The banks in Gibraltar, obviously they understand the regulations and so forth, and they understand that one has gone through the process here in Gibraltar, and you can go through a process to open up a bank account over here in Gibraltar to operate this type of business, which again is very useful. There might be other jurisdictions where banks just simply don't understand it, or there's no licensing regime which they don't feel comfortable with providing a service to these types of companies. So again, Gibraltar does quite well in terms of being first to bring out this legislation, and then an ecosystem starts being created that starts helping these businesses to operate properly and provide the service, and banking is one of those services that start thriving over in Gibraltar.
And what is more or less the success rate with bank accounts? Because for us, we know it's very tricky in other jurisdictions always to go through with bank. It sometimes takes months. How is it in Gibraltar?
Yeah, I think the important thing to understand is that the banks need to go through a process of understanding the customer, and the customer being the business that's been set up over here in Gibraltar and applying for the license. So it's not the fact that the banks don't want to open the account quickly, but they do need to be thorough in understanding it. And as you can imagine, for any business, there are lots of parts, there are lots of counterparties, there are things to understand. And once that process is complete, then the bank will open the account. But it's important that they are thorough, and everyone works very hard to get things opened up as quick as possible. It's difficult to say how long it takes. It's like how long is a piece of string. But my experience is, as long as everyone's engaged in the process, everyone is quick enough to provide the documentation, and it's not just left lingering. Service providers over here in Gibraltar are good, and the account is open in a time that's expected of what the circumstances are.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ravi.
Okay.
Thank you.